Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to Blade Bias, where, yes, I know my floor is a mess and my case is a mess. You'll get over it, I promise. Today, I wanted to talk about the importance of getting multiple opinions, and not only that, but learning the perspectives and the preferences of the reviewer or the person that you are talking to about a specific Balisong, specifically when it comes to buying something that you're going to enjoy and not feeling like you're wasting your money. This is something that I've made a few videos on in the past, but it's been a while, so I wanted to talk about it yet again. Because lately, especially with the crazy relative success of my main channel video that I put out, which if you've watched that, thank you, the perception has been amazing. If you haven't watched that and you're interested, my main channel is always linked in the description. And I know what you're going to say. It's a smaller channel, yes, but it's still my main channel because that's where my high effort stuff goes. Instead of me just slapping a camera on my head and flipping the same combo over and over again, because that's the muscle memory that I have so that I can talk coherently, because that's what Blade Bias is. Oh, right on my foot. That was cool. So yeah, I've just been thinking, there's been a lot of factors that have led me to think far deeper about the place of Balisong content within this hobby, the place of content within most hobbies, really. Kind of its downfalls, what it does well, what it does poorly, etc. And we live in a current Balisong landscape, I guess you could say, where it's all head-mounted reviews. If you want to make a Balisong video, and it's been this way for a really long time, if you want to make a Balisong video, you make a review. It's pretty much what most people do nowadays, and I'm not saying that this is a bad thing, because I am no different. That is most of the content on this channel. So, in that realm of, in the landscape of a mostly review-based hobby, especially in a hobby that is, and I will fight this all day, because I know there's people who disagree with this, especially in a hobby that is so subjective. And I know there's people who are like, yeah, it's objective, you can learn balance and all this stuff, and you have to be right when you review. It's all preference. We're all just talking about Balisongs that we like and dislike. That's preference, that's subjective. Some people like Blade Bias, some people like Handle Bias, some people like both, some people like neither. That's just how it works. So, in such a subjective hobby where preferences can vary so wildly, how can you as a viewer and as someone who's looking to purchase something break through the noise and find something that's really going to work for you? And I have two major tips for that, and we'll get into, because this kind of doesn't apply to beginners, but we'll talk about beginners later in the video. Number one is no one is the de facto head honcho of Balisong information. No one is correct 100% of the time. It's all bias. Every human out there has bias. Bias doesn't have to be a bad thing as long as you're aware of it and generally try your best to avoid it, but that doesn't even work because everyone's biased. This channel is called Blade Bias because I'm being biased about blades. That's part of the reason the name is what it is, along with, you know, the double meaning of like the wordplay on the balance point and all that. I am biased. Everyone's biased. There's no objective review that exists of a Balisong, specifically of a preference-based hobby like this. Headphones, most other hobbies are like this. Everyone has different preferences. And in a world where you can't just easily go to the store and try a Balisong, I'm sure a lot of people can get very overwhelmed with trying to find something that's going to work for them in the best way that it can. No one wants to waste their money, and that's totally understandable. So, how can you break through the noise? Number one is getting opinions from multiple people, because what one person may praise about a Balisong, another person might hate. What one person deems as not very important and glosses right over, you might be aware of from a different video, then that's something that's really important to you. For example, in all of the videos that I make about my opinions on certain Balisongs, I almost never talk about the tolerances, because unless they're really, really bad, I generally don't care. As long as a Balisong isn't blade rubbing, I generally don't care. And I don't think it's something that's really worth focusing on when I'm trying to make a quick little 8-minute video about a Balisong. But when you go watch other people's videos, you might find someone who really cares about the tolerances of a Balisong. And that might be something that you care about. So you just benefited from going to a different place than my channel to learn about this Balisong, because you essentially opened an eye, you looked in a blind spot that I had for something that would have really mattered to you. So when you look for multiple opinions, you can catch blind spots that some people might have. And it's not a bad thing if someone has a blind spot. It's just everyone prioritizes different things. So you want to get as much info as you can. Multiple opinions. Multiple opinions also you can kind of piece them together like a puzzle. If someone says, this Balisong is neutral, but then another person says this Balisong is handle biased, but no one's really saying that it's blade biased, you kind of create a range. It falls in there. And this is going to tie into my next point. This will make a little bit more sense when I talk about my next point, but you can kind of create a range. And you know it's not up here, so it's probably somewhere in here. Are you okay with that, or are you not okay with that? Are you someone who's going to enjoy that? That can be very, very useful. When you want to buy something, I mean, this is how I treat getting into new hobbies, especially. You kind of become a sleuth for information on the best value for your money. And you're trying to piece together all of these different opinions coming at you from so many different angles to figure out where your money is best spent. My second and biggest tip for this process is to learn the preferences of the people that you are watching, whether it be a YouTuber, whether it be some blogger, whether it be a paragraph on Instagram, a comment on Reddit. Knowing the preferences of that person can help you extraordinarily in deciphering if their opinion is something that you should be taking into account more heavily than someone else's. Because ultimately what we're looking for is someone who has similar preferences to us. I have a person in the hobby who I have very similar preferences to, and they go by the name of Cream Soda on Instagram. When Cream Soda likes a Balisong, I know, because he's a fan nut just like I am, that there's about an 80% chance I'm probably also going to enjoy that Balisong, because he and I share a similar preference. He likes things that fan well, I like things that fan well. Simple as that. What it can also help you do is maybe steer away from a particular Balisong. Let's take an example, Will Hirsch. Will Hirsch is someone in the hobby who likes his handle bias. And we're actually super lucky. I've made a video on this before, but you can flip a version of Will's preferences, because he said when the Vault Pro came out, it was something that he tuned around his preferences specifically and that he really enjoyed it, how it flipped. So if you pick up the Vault Pro and you just think it has way too much handle bias, there's way too much momentum at the end of the handles, you can then reframe how Will talks about other Balisongs in other videos. Let's say he talks about the Flytanium Talisong Z, and he says he really enjoys how much handle bias it has. You know, based on your experience, that Will generally can tolerate more handle bias than you can. So you know that the Talisong Z might not be a Balisong that you enjoy as much as Will, because you don't like as much handle bias as Will. So when you combine these two tricks together, when you take multiple opinions, and when you also know the preferences of the person that you're listening to, it can go a really long way to helping you find something you're really going to love. If you find a reviewer, and I'm not just saying to find a reviewer who matches your preferences and listen only to them. No, I don't think it's ever good to only listen to one side of something. You should, explore other perspectives on a product. Again, because we talked about earlier, there can be blind spots and stuff like that. So when you combine these two, you kind of learn a little bit more about the people who are talking about Balisongs, and you get opinions from multiple of them. It can help you fine tune into a Balisong that you're really going to enjoy. Let's say that the Corvus comes out, and there are 2 reviewers who really love it, and there's 8 reviewers who just hate it or are mediocre on it. Normally, if you're only looking for multiple perspectives, you might think that that is a net negative, and for most people it might be. But let's say you're one of the people who has a similar preference point to the 2 people that really like the Corvus, and you generally don't agree with the preference points of the 8 people who don't like the Corvus. You know, because your views align with the minority, that you might actually really enjoy the Corvus. It can kind of steer you into making a decision that otherwise you might not have made just based on public perception of a product. And I think that that can be a really, really powerful thing. Obviously, the most powerful thing is just trying it yourself. But not everyone can sit down at a headphone bar and try out 15 different pairs of headphones like I did in order to pick out my Ananda Nanos, which I'll maybe make a bonus bias on in the future. You can't do that. So you have to rely on secondhand accounts, I guess. So those 2 things can help you greatly in being that information sleuth to find the answer that you're really looking for. Now, I said we talk about beginners later. Now is later. How can you, as a beginner, someone who knows nothing about this hobby, utilize any of that information when you don't even know what your preferences are in the first place? That's where it becomes a little less focus on point 2 and a little more focus on point 1. Generally, when you're first getting into the hobby, you just want to look for a knife that people say is good for beginners. Maybe there's a knife that everyone agrees. Let's say, for example, it's the cheese. I don't see a ton of people saying that the cheese is absolute garbage and you shouldn't buy it. If you point at something like the Vulp, you'll get a laundry list of people who don't like it for this reason or for this reason. You point at the cheese, there's significantly less of those. Maybe something like the Impulse, let's say. And there will always be people who don't like it, but that's kind of where the getting multiple opinions comes in, because you watch 6 or 7 different videos about the cheese and they're all relatively positive. You know that there's a good chance that your money is going somewhere where you're at least not going to hate it. And then once you have experience with that first Balisong, you can move on and move around to different balance points, try different things out. Let's say you get the cheese and you just really think that it doesn't roll over very well and you just need more weight in your handles to get those chaplains really smooth. And then you go try a Kite AL that your friend bought and you like that way more. Well, now you know that you like a little bit more weight in the handles, and then you go from there to refine your preferences, and then suddenly you can kind of learn the preferences of other people. But another tip to beginners, handle bias. All the tricks that you're going to be learning when you first start out are good with handle bias, chaplains, rollovers, stuff like that. So if you find a knife that people say is well balanced or handle biased, you'll probably be pretty good. And then you can move on from there. Develop your style, develop what you're looking for in a Balisong, and then go from there. And this doesn't even have to be preferences. Maybe your preference is that you're a handle bias lover, but you're looking for something a little bit more blade biased or neutral to round out your collection and try some different balance point that you don't usually try. That's when you go to a reviewer who likes fanning or choker fanning or something like that. You know, someone like me who does exactly that. And then you know, okay, this is what I'm looking for in this Balisong, which aligns with this person's interests. Great. You go check out another YouTuber who likes fans and likes more neutral things. They really like this knife. Great. Take that into consideration. Even you go check out a notorious handle bias lover who doesn't like a knife. Interesting. Maybe I'll go for that because they say it's too neutral. Knowing the preferences of the people that you're learning things from. I'm losing my train of thought very rapidly into a wall. Knowing the preferences of the people that you are taking advice from can be very important. I hope that made sense. It's currently 3 a.m. and I'm filming this. I hope that wasn't just a weird 3 a.m. rant. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I think that'll do it. The gauze is awesome. I love it. And I'll be doing a follow-up video on it eventually. For the rest of you, Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Later.